The road to healing can be a long one, especially if you're navigating trauma. Our next guest, it was a journey for him to piece together meaning through the years of journal entries and ultimately actually writing a book that documents a personal mental health decline in raw first-person clarity.
Now, he's not a clinician, he's not an academic, he's just someone who lived it. Author Kevin Macomber joins us today to talk about the deeply personal experience that is fueling a broader mission, advocating for peer-to-peer support and expanding trauma education among veterans right here in our communities. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you so much, and what a great intro. You got to the point pretty quickly, and that is why we're here.
So I have to ask you, what led you to begin journaling and try to make sense of what you were going through?
Sure. So I actually have gone through a great deal of trauma, to include military service in the Middle East. And I had one final issue, a really serious situation that happened in my late 30s. And because I hadn't taken care of my mental health issues, I had a mental breakdown and I attempted suicide for the first time. So what happened 30 years ago, and you might hear this if you talk to Vietnam vets, there literally were no resources for us. There was absolutely nothing. So what I did was I began journaling, and I would journal for 15 years, and I journaled those darkest moments all the time, from a breakdown to what was going on in my head when I was, thinking about self-harm,
right,
and all the other issues those that face PTSD have. And so I journaled for 15 years.
Okay, so the name of your book is Walking Through the Shadows, and you say that this book, and you brought a copy of it here, I'm glad you did, you say that this is different from most other books in this space. Why?
It's very different. So when you become an author, and I advise not doing it, it's brutal. I was advised there was an ocean of books out there, and they're absolutely correct. There's probably been a couple 100,000 mental health books, and there's probably 20 to 30,000 PTSD books. But what I discovered when I was writing this and testing it on people with regards to content, I discovered most of these books are written by doctors or therapists, and they're typically written, and you mentioned this, in third person, always talking about them. There was almost nobody who was a veteran or who had had the degree of trauma that I did writing about firsthand at the time.
Now, of course, me.
What's that?
We talked about me.
Yeah, I was talking about me. And so what happened 5 years ago when we moved, I found a banker's box of all my journaling notes. I said, oh my goodness, I've got a book here. And it was a lot, but it was incredible. Some of it made sense, some of it didn't, because of considering where my head was at the time. I said, wow, there is some incredible content here that I could speak to.
Wow. And you're taking that content and you're turning it into advocacy. And then you actually have two solutions that you want to propose to local organizations and politicians?
I do. Well, I'm actually already speaking to those people. And while the book is great, and there's some great information in that, it really is what I'm trying to do with the advocacy. And there's two things we need to do. Just to give the people listening here an understanding, it's estimated that 1/3 of all veterans have some type of mental health concern that they need to address. And then of course there were guys like me who are at the very top. My PTSD is rated by the VA as severe, which means my symptoms are nearly constant. They're constant even right now. I have them while talking to you, but I've been trained and I've practiced how to behave and how to manage them in public. But that's 1/3, and the VA is literally swimming. I mean, they're doing the very best they can. Lots of good people trying to do lots of good things, but the number of veterans coming in from, now you add the Iraq conflicts, the Afghanistan conflicts, it's incredible, and we need the public's help. We have to change this. We can't depend on the VA to do it. So to what's the solution? We need peer-to-peer support groups. They can be done by the VA, but there's opportunities for public groups to do it, opportunity for veterans organizations to do it, as well as possibly even churches to do it. We need the public's involvement in that. The second thing is, and if you talk to any veteran, and we all understand this, we have that ability to establish rapport with one another very quickly. In the mental health field, unfortunately, the vast majority, probably 99% plus, have never served. And it slows down the process of establishing rapport to somebody's high risk who needs to be diffused immediately.
That's why the peer-to-peer is so important.
It is. Well, the peer-to-peer is important because it provides immediate validation. Sometimes people just need to be heard.
So
right?
let me ask you this, what's it been like traveling around the country with this message?
You know, it's bittersweet. You know, people go, wow, you're doing a great job. I don't want to hear that. You know, it's not about me. I will tell you, our nation is extremely concerned right now about the veteran suicide rate.
Yes.
Because honestly, it is my opinion, maybe others will agree, it is not getting better. Despite all the effort, all the awareness, all the money, it's not getting better. We can't keep doing the same thing. We need the public's health. And probably the last part of that I would suggest is, I would suggest we start funding veterans who want to go into mental health care and who want to deal with trauma therapy, because I think those two things could get that 22 per day rate down. I estimate in this region here of your viewership, somebody's probably taking a veteran, is probably taking their life every other day.
The name of the book is Walking from the Shadows, and the author is Kevin Macomber. Thank you so much.
My honor.
And we're going to have your information on our website so folks can learn more.
My honor.
Thank you, for your service.